Let's see. We'll check the microphones. Hello, nice to see you on.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you for your good work today.
So,
Let me just get my microphone a little louder. Oh, yes, there we go. Okay. All right, good to see you. Did you have a good Sunday?
yes, I am. Yes, it's snowing outside, so it's so cold.
My
I want
goodness.
to go outside, but it's so cold, so I just stay at home.
I'm laughing because um, a student in Canada said it's cold this morning. But in Japan and also most of Asia is warming. Taipei City is 25 degrees. Ho Chi Minh City is 23 or 25. So all of East Asia is warming nicely, but Canada, America, and Europe are still really cold. It's,
Yeah, it's so cold, right?
yeah. Now you're in Germany, is it?
No,
Or
I'm in Russia right
oh,
now.
Russia. Yeah, Russia especially. It's cold. Yeah. What is it? 1 or 2 degrees if it's snowing outside?
I think so. I think I is maybe -1 or 2. I didn't see the temperature, but it's so cold. But
Yeah.
it's
Are
not
you?
cold. It's not so cold as cold than like in the last year.
Yeah. Are you in Moscow or St. Petersburg?
I'm in Moscow.
In Moscow, yeah.
It's
It's a
Moscow.
really big city now, isn't it? Like I heard the population just jumped the last 20 years. Like a lot of
Yeah.
Russians moved to Moscow.
Yes, right now like 20 million people now living in
Wow, 20
Moscow.
million. That's like becoming one of those super cities like Sao Paulo or Shanghai. 20
Mm.
million. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. I heard that the other smaller cities in other parts of Russia are losing young people. So there are like lots of old people in those cities, but the work dynamic is gone, it's missing. So those towns are really struggling with population loss. Huh.
Yes, it's true. And then it's some of the city, it's closed city for the citizen and the tourists. They only like military or
Mm.
the people who stay in this country. So it like 100 or 200 people.
And they're missing essential services like health
Uh,
clinics
yeah,
and
helps.
grocery stores, things that are really necessary. I feel sorry. I watched a program about two old women. It was made about 5 years ago, and their lives are so difficult because the apartment building they live in needs repairs. They need better transportation, better access to health clinics. I really felt sorry for them. You know, they love their little city. They don't want to leave it, but it's missing
Yeah.
so many things. Oh, look at how happy Mr. T is. T, do you say T or tie?
I'm Ann, by the way.
What is it?
I'm Ann.
Oh, Anne. So just say Anne. Don't say on. Say Anne, right?
Yeah.
Like short A, Anne. And by the way,
You
you
see
love a
the
good
you see the
discussion.
argument on the CCCP?
Yeah. Yes, it was good work. It was good work. You know,
Crappy Chinese party.
that could be actually extended to about 5 pages. But for what you did, it was good enough, Mr. Ann. It was good enough in English. Good enough for our first assignment. So I hope you like tonight's assignment. It's kind of long. There's a lot to teach, but I think it's a really interesting topic for everybody. Um, I was doing the lesson work today. At about 5 o'clock, I started it. And I was reminded how closely it's connected to debate speech because I also teach debate speech on Sunday morning to a group of young students. And I thought, you know, many of these can be used in debate because tonight's lesson is about mostly writing an argumentative essay where you take a position on something and you have to support the position. And this is the academic way of supporting the position, starting out with what's called a prompt, Prompt, a prompt. We'll discuss all this in about 5 minutes or so. Let's take a look. We have Ellis joined us. Anne is here. Hui is here. You say Hui. On, I'll say long ace on. Yeah. Min is here and Ho is here and Mr. Tintin is here. Okay. Hey, Tintin, while I was grading your essay, I realized you did, in fact, use some of the hedging words. At first, I didn't see any many people think or some people think. And then I saw it at the end of the essay, Tintin. You did write seem, right? I think it was. I thought, okay, good. Tintin did get the assignment right. So thank you for that, Tintin. Did you catch that?
Not
Okay.
really.
Yeah, you did a nice job. In fact, you guys, let's take a look at Tintin, what Tintin wrote. I think everybody is here now. Let's just take a quick look at what Tintin wrote here for his homework. And then this way you can see how at first teacher thought that Tintin didn't use any hedge words, but then Tintin did use hedge words. So I quickly changed this so, you know, you wouldn't get upset, Mr. Tintin. Tintin, what was it? It was at 7:47. Let me see if this is the one for Tintin. Here, you submitted it. If it is Mr. No, that's the one. That's a pretty good one. I do like that one too. Homework checked at 7:51. I believe this is Mr. Tintin. Yeah, this is good. Tintin, is your microphone okay?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
like, yeah.
Not bad. Would you like to read what you wrote?
Fine. There have been multiple ongoing wars lately. These wars include the Ukrainian war and the Israel-Hamas war. Both of these wars have been going on since 2023 and have seemed to have de-escalated, or so it seems. The Israel-Hamas situation is currently under a process of monitoring by other countries so that things can die down a bit. Meanwhile, the situation associated with the Ukraine has only gotten worse over time after the constant attacks of the Russians. Many of the world's nations would like to see a cessation of these violent conflicts.
Yeah, do you see, Mr. Tintin, I included this. You can use this if you want. It's just an idea. This allows you to use many, right? And that's a good hedge word. But then I went back and I said, oh, wait a minute. Tintin used seemed here, and so it seems here, right? That's fine. Those are good hedge words, Tintin. Tintin, this is funny. When you first submitted this, I corrected it. You wrote this, and I'm laughing at this, Tintin, because I did this in a college paper 35 years ago. And the professor was this little horrible man who didn't like me because I always challenged him. And I'm like Anne that way. I challenged my professor, and he got upset. And I wrote this in my final essay paper, and he got really angry. You know, Tintin, he shouted at me in the comments, "This is not a real sentence. You cannot write these being because there's no subject here for being." And so, Tintin, I thought it was okay. I would probably, Tintin, I would do this. So do you see that's a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no big problem, Tintin, because you made the same mistake I made when I was actually 23 years old. So you're already writing very well, Tintin. Don't worry about it. Okay, good, good. Thanks, Tintin. Let's see. I think we should just jump right into the lesson because I put enough comments on your thing, and I want to get into what I've written for you for tonight's lesson here because it's kind of long. There are so many of these samples. I need people to read for me though. And Mr. Ann, you are ready to go. I think you are invigorated by this writing course. It's wonderful to see in a young person. So let me start with this first one here, Class 2 and Academic Level 4. In Lesson 2, we are going to study argumentation and persuasion in academic writing. As the title implies, our goal is to persuade successfully and convincingly that our assertions or ideas are logical or truthful. We are essentially taking a position. When taking a position, it is important to use essay prompts. So that's our big word for today, prompts. Essay prompts are questions we ask of our reading audience. It could be the professor or other people. An example of an essay prompt would be, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Globalization has had a positive or influence on Asia. It's a really nice opening statement question as a prompt. This would be an essay question, perhaps on a test, and you've studied with your professor for 10 weeks in a course. He gives this to you as a midterm or a final. This would definitely be sort of a university level sitting for a test for your first 4 undergraduate years. They always have questions like this. So I'm going to let Mr. An, can you read this part here?
Me, right?
Yeah, Hyan.
Yeah. The topic is globalization. The positions a writer could take on the topic seems to be limited to two options. It has had a positive influence on Asia, or it has not had a positive influence on Asia. However, in academic subject, it's rare that something is completely right or wrong, positive or negative, best or worst. Therefore, others' positions on the topic of the essay prompt could be it has had a mostly positive influence on Asia. Notice the use of heading throughout the example, mostly positive effects, etc. It has had a somewhat negative influence on Asia. It has had a positive influence in some sectors of societies in Asia, but negative in others. Certain countries in Asia have benefited more from globalization than others.
Yeah, nice. Good reading, Hyan. So I just have to has had I want to see has had is our word here. I'm gonna put this in bold because it's positive. It means it has had a pot, but then I'm going to accent this in not, just so you can clearly see this is the negative response. Okay, so do you see how these build from the first example? It has had a mostly positive influence on Asia. Then it becomes a little bit more sophisticated. It has had a somewhat negative influence on Asia. Number three, it has had a positive influence in some sectors of Asian societies. This one's really good. It's really accurate. It has wonderful hedgings. By using this phrasing in some sectors of society, it leaves you open to begin analyzing. It really allows a lot of space for you to introduce this idea that you're going to examine some of these sectors where there has been a positive influence in your writing. Do you see how that opens the opportunity to start discussing these in your writing? And then certain countries in Asia have benefited more from, again, this is also really interesting because now we know as your prompt, your sort of thing that you want to draw the reader into, we know that you're going to say that there have been some countries where it's positive and some countries where it has not been positive in your analysis, in the thing you're trying to write about. Okay. Let's go to another one here for Anne. This is Anne here, my friend who is interested in the CCP. Can you read these ones here, Mr. N? Is he there? Is a microphone okay, N? Anne has a good reading voice. There you are, Anne.
Okay, so what do you want me to read?
Blue, the highlighted blue, of course.
The rule prompt is used here because we are involving agreement and disagreement to idea and policies. We are leaving topic open for discussion, hence this is why type of writing can be described as argumentative or persuasive academic writing. We need to include other types of writing which may not or may be prompting agreement or disagreement. If this is a type of essay, we should start with the question, when did globalization start? The only topic again is globalization. Possible positions in this topic could be, it truly began with the advent of information and technology. It is not a recent phenomenon, but it has a long history spanning millennia. That is not actually true because it was not even invented.
Okay, come on. It is impossible. Come on. It is impossible.
It is impossible to determine when it actually began, but it has certainly intensified having slaves over the last few decades. During the European era of exploration and exploitation of slaves, conquest became the 16th and 17th centuries is when the world truly started to become racist.
Oh, and you're adding embellishing things here that aren't in the original writing. Okay. I understand your arguments though, but the important thing to notice here, again, this example, which is prompting with this, when did globalization, with the question it starts. Do you notice how it starts simple and then it begins to build to more sophisticated or more complicated responses to this question? So it began with the advent of information technology, kind of an easy, open, not real accurate. It goes to, it's not a recent phenomenon. That's a better response. It is impossible to determine. This one's really a wonderful response. It's impossible to determine, but it has certainly intensified over the last few decades. During the European era of exploration and conquest during the 16th and 17th centuries is when the world started. This is okay. To tell you the truth, I like this best. It is impossible to determine because it leaves you a lot of space to begin analyzing a very complicated question. To tell you the truth, this would be about an 8 to 10 page response for a graduate school or senior level in university undergraduate. This would introduce a good paper of that length, 8 to 9 pages, to explore this topic. So it's really good. Okay, let's see. Lian Lai, are you there? How are you today? There's Le. Is Le or Le?
Lian, my name is Lian.
Lian, would you like to read this one here? It actually starts here, but it goes down a little bit far to there. Okay.
Okay. Finally, there is an even more open essay prompt. It requires simply define globalization. This is one of the ways for taking a test where the professor includes it at a major part of a final exam. This could be in history, political science, or economics. There is always what is described at a little wiggle room in this response. This means flexibility in your response because you take a position even in an exam situation. Some professors even may acknowledge that your position differ from theirs, and it is well supported. They might find your response highly engaging. Here are some different approach or prompts to this defined style, which you can also ask in the debate, where the debates ask, what do you mean when we use the term globalization? This is the rhetorical style of argumentation, but for writing academically, try this prompt approach toward a good or solid definition.
Very nice, Lian. Nice reading. Tron, Anna, would you like to try these definition style for your position paper?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Globalization is a set of processes that have made the world seem smaller. Globalization has increased the economic, cultural, and political links among countries. Globalization is a process that has increased the importance of a global shared culture and at the same time, the importance of local cultures. Cultural, economic, and political connections have increased to such an extent that the borders and differences among countries, cultures, and people have no meaning.
All right. So a lot of perspectives there, a lot of definitions. You can see there's not one simple definition for globalization. And so I use this term wiggle room. It's kind of funny. What do I mean by wiggle room here? Let me go back up here. Wiggle room is this great English expression. It's like when you're walking and you get your foot and leg caught in a trap, but you move it around in the hole and then you can pull your leg out because there's room. It's called wiggle room. All animals want wiggle room if they get caught in a situation. So when you're writing, you allow a little wiggle room, a little chance to escape if someone challenges you and you want to defend your writing or even your debate response. It's flexibility in your response because you take a position where you can discuss and debate things with your professor or your debate audience, for example. So it starts out again, globalization, set of processes that have made the world seem smaller. Again, this is kind of vague. The writing books I use say, please try not to use a vague, prompt. If you started this and said, globalization is a set of processes that have made the world seem smaller, then you have to quickly follow it with good supports that are logical, truth-sounding supports that could include also notations, which reminds me, I have to show you one of our students' papers on notations because it's done very well. Okay, so that's a little vague. It's kind of easy, that first one. This globalization has increased the economic, cultural, and political links among countries. Not bad, not bad. It's getting better. Globalization is a process that has influenced the importance of global shared culture and at the same time, the importance of local culture. Okay, but I feel that it's none of these are really defining it precisely. Let's go to the last one. Cultural, economic, and political connections have increased to such an extent that borders and differences among countries, cultures, and people have no meaning. But it doesn't mention globalization here. That's one of the problems. All of these examples come from the textbook, but I'm kind of surprised that the writer of the textbook didn't include globalization in this last example. I think these could be a little bit better definitions. You could say globalization is a process where economic, cultural, and political links amongst countries have increased tremendously over the last hundreds of years, to a point now that the world is very interdependent on trade. Okay. So to sum up, summary, for most essay prompts, there is a variety of positions. The writer is free to choose any position, but to make sure that the position responds directly to the essay to prompt and can be supported well, normally with research. Now, let me see, one of our responses in the homework, I want to go to that, is an excellent example. I wrote to this person that I think that their work is a really good example for the rest of the class to look at. Let me just quickly go through the homeworks here and see if I can find it. Yeah, it's beautiful. I got it on the first one. Okay, Anna, this is Tron, Anna, or Anna Tron. Wonderful. I'm going to share this with the class if I may. And so for everyone paying attention, look at how Anna supports 4 notations for just one paragraph. Do you see? This is 1, 2, and 3. By the way, Anna, I always did this. One of my professors said, don't do this, but I couldn't help it, Anna. I love stacking up footnotes.
Teacher.
Yes,
what might be a bit more obvious here that
yes.
It's been a bit more obvious that she could have just put all 3 into one paper, called it "I am a scientist," and just published that paper and just stated it herself.
All right. Enough of that cynicism. That's very funny, Anne. But let's go back to Anna Trent's paper to demonstrate that she used wonderful footnotes. I mean, excellent footnotes, because if you notice, this is one paragraph, but if you have a professor who's really looking at the small details, they're going to want a lot of footnotes. They're going to want citations. They're going to want a lot of citations. By the way, some of you are in graduate school programs, and I'm not sure of your university's program, but in the British Islands, including Ireland, Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, they have a system amongst the graduate, what they call postgraduate study, where the university actually hires an independent auditor who goes through all of your citations, every one of them. They spend hours a day doing this, and they check to make sure that all of your notations exactly support what you are saying. It's really strict. So please be careful of it. Hi, An. I don't know if they're going to do that in Russia in the PhD program. Will they have an independent auditor?
I'm not studying in my master in a PhD program, yes, but I think they should have.
They might have it. Yeah. So be careful. You want to make sure all your notations match up with everything you say. I'm not saying people are cheating. It's just sometimes you're working on these late at night and your notation might be off by 1. And then they catch you on it. They say, hey, look at number 13. That doesn't match what you are saying. So be careful, everyone. It can be really strict. Anna Tron, would you like to read it? Because this is a wonderful example.
Yeah. Okay. Alzheimer's disease is widely believed to be one of the most common neurodegenerative disease, characterized by memory loss and learning impairments. Synaptic loss is well established by evidence from many past studies as a key factor for cognitive decline in early stages of AD. These findings highlight the need for more studies to investigate how synapses are affected in AD, which may provide invaluable insights for developing therapeutic approaches to prevent or treat the disease. To understand how synapses are changed in AD, it is important to have a method that is clear to identify the structure of synapses at the ultrastructural level. For many years, electron microscope EM has been considered the gold standard, as it produces high-resolution images of presynaptic vesicles and postsynaptic density, thereby allowing the clear visualizations of synaptic connections. Despite its strengths, there are also some limitations of utilizing EM as a tool to identify synapses. EM is exclusively used on postmortem tissues. Therefore, it is impossible to observe synaptic changes in disease progression. Also, 3D EM is undoubtedly time-consuming and highly technical, often requiring specialized skills to produce and analyze the data.
Very nice. And you know why I like this? Because Anatran, I gave the students this advice to use this expression hereafter referred to as AD, but that's too long. It's too formal. Do you see what Anna has done here? She says Alzheimer's disease, AD in brackets. That means throughout the paper, she's going to use AD here and here. She's not going to write out Alzheimer's disease because it's too long for a technical paper, especially using a lot of science notation. It's okay just to put AD like this, Alzheimer's disease, and just go dot and then go dot. Seems like a small thing, but that saves you so much time if you're writing a science paper. Also, social sciences use this too. And then here you use the EM for electron microscope. Mr. Ann, I'm going to throw you a question. Are you ready for it so you don't get bored? I'm thinking you're a student whose brain goes very fast, Mr. Ann. Are you ready? Are you there, Ann?
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
post-mortem tissues,
Yes.
what are they?
What do you mean?
What do they mean, post-mortem tissues? Where did they get this sample from?
Mortem tissues? I'm pretty sure she doesn't even know what post-mortem tissues are. Well, post-mortem
Oh, she
tissues.
knows what they are. Don't
Yeah.
insult Sanatron. She knows what they are.
Then
She's
let
doing
her
this.
explain what post-mortem tissues are then. I don't know.
And you don't know.
Oh,
It means
what
they're
with
getting
me?
it.
I don't know
All right.
what post-mortem tissues are.
Relax, relax. Post-mortem tissues means they got the sample from
Mort is
the
dead.
dead.
Post is post-dead tissues.
Exactly.
It's so
You got it.
simple that I could
So
kill my
simple. Then why did you make a big deal out of it? Okay, so post-mortem, the sample comes from dead people's brains, which is kind of interesting. All right, Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, we have to continue on. Let me go to the next part of tonight's lesson. And this is where last week I told you your ability, your skills are quite good. I was really impressed. There's a nice mix of students here. So what I want to give you is this to read. If someone can read this one here, and it's there. And so part two. Let's see, I want to call on someone who needs a chance to read. Alice, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Alice, nice to hear from you. Can you read this part here?
Part 2. I really enjoyed learning with you last week, and you seem to enjoy good discussion on topics. This allowed our class to be a workshop style where we can do some writing while in class. In college, I love these in-class workshop where we were required to write in class for the teacher. I got a lot more accomplished in structured classroom environments. With that in mind, I will provide some essay prompts. Could you write a few sentences, then put them in the chat box? We can use these prompts as the foundation of our homework assignment for March 9th. This means you can get a lot done with class and then simply add on the work for homework. There are some essay prompts.
Okay, so I have some prompts. And what we want to do with the prompts is, remember, you could do it in the definition style. What do we mean when we say globalization? You can do the essay prompt in the question style. When did globalization begin? Or you could do it in this style, which is position taking. It has had a mostly positive, it has had a somewhat negative influence. So we have position argumentation here. We have the questioning style here. And we have the definition style here. We have 3 ways to do this. And from the textbook I used, I had some prompts, but I wanted to create some of my own, some new prompts here. So let me just find students who would maybe like to read. Bao, are you there? Is Bao there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, Bao, how are you?
Hi, thanks. Actually, my name is Ngọc.
It's Nyok. Say, just call you Nyok. Okay.
Yeah.
Nyok, I was calling you Bao because when I was living in Taipei, there was a wonderful Chinese gods temple called Bao Yin, I think. So I was thinking your name Bao Yin. I loved going to that old Chinese Confucian temple with the gods with the long beards. It was a magical experience for me.
Yes.
So Nyok, you wrote the paper on Buddhism. Was that you?
Pardon?
You wrote a paragraph on Buddhism as a religion or a philosophy. Was that you?
Actually, I do a paragraph on education, not
Oh,
Buddhism.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Someone wrote on Buddhism. Should it be considered a religion or a philosophy? So I'm sorry. I thought that was you, Nyok. I'm sorry. Nyok, would you like to read our possibilities 1 to 6 here of things that we can write maybe 5 sentences on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Discuss some of the technological advances in the 20th century, which have helped transform the workplace. 2. Compare the healthcare systems of Vietnam versus a lesser developed country such as neighboring Cambodia. 3. Evaluate the effectiveness of Vietnamese government efforts to remove hate speech from social media. 4. Argue for or against the reduction of work and school week from 5 days a week to only 4 days a week with longer hours put in during Monday to Thursday or alternately Tuesday to Friday. Teacher loves this idea. Go ahead, argue against this or for this. 5. Summarize the most significant developments in social networking and describe their impact on the lives of interest users today. 6. Examine some of the most popular shows on Vietnamese TV and offer insights. Your opinion basically as to why they are so popular. Do some of these shows accurately reflect certain characteristics or values in Vietnamese societies?
Yeah, so I have 6 nice topics. The textbook helped me, but I changed a lot of these to make them better for students from Vietnam. I think I really like number 6. Number 3, I know about number 3 because I was editing papers last year for a Ho Chi Minh City law firm, and they dealt in hate speech lawsuits, very serious topic. So I learned a lot about it. And so I put that in here for number 3. Number 2, I was surprised. I introduced the topic of Cambodia to my debate class this morning, and the students had some strong opinions about Cambodia. I was impressed by that, your closest neighbor. Technological. Now, this one's interesting, the technological advances. As I prepared your lesson, I thought about this one, and immediately I thought of the typewriter, the old-fashioned mechanical typewriter. And when I do that kind of thing, I quickly ask myself, well, when was the typewriter developed? And this is when I encourage you to use ChatGPT, because I don't know this answer right away. So if I go to ChatGPT, let's find out the answer to that before. I was asking in the debate class this morning about wheat and barley grown in northern Vietnam. So I have this up and running for that purpose. But let me get a new chat thing here. It's in Japanese, as you can see. And it is, when were the first typewriters invented for office use, let's say in the USA. I'm going to restrict that search a little bit. And let's see what ChatGPT says. First typewriters invented, 1860s and 1870s. So right away, I know that my idea of putting this for the 20th century isn't going to work because they were using them as early as the 1880s. So let me change. I'm going to have to change that if I'm going to make a correct response. When were telephones first used in American offices? I'm going to change that. Oh no, 1870s, 1880s. So this is before the start of the 20th century. So I really can't use this in my responses. We have to really think about this one, right? This is for response number 6. How I believe it's number 6. Let me see. Was no, it was number 1. I'm sorry, number 1. Technological advances of the 20th century helped transform the workplace, the office. I honestly don't know what this would be. Of course, all right, computers, right? Okay, so if I chose computers, I could try 3 of these. I could do the rhetorical style. What do we mean when we say technological advances? That one I don't like too much because it seems like such an easy response. What do we mean by technological advances? It's too what's called fine grain. Here's a great expression for you. Fine grain means it's the details would be so small that maybe you don't want to use that fine grain. Think of sands on the beach. If you're asking, what do we mean by technological advances? Your professor might think, well, you don't have to answer that question. We know what it means. Leaps ahead in technology. How about this is probably the best response. We need to include other types, which would be this rhetorical question, prompting agreement or disagreement here for technology, information technology. Okay, I'm liking the blue one. Position, not really, because this would be like, has technology improved the office place, or has it just made a lot of redundant, repetitious, boring work? I don't really like that. I really think the best response is probably this one here. A solid definition. Okay. Definition, or I like this, the blue one. It's more of a historical one, right? So if I had to talk about computers, number 1, having an impact, computers, I would say the advent of IBM computers using Microsoft as its operating system is probably the most significant Okay, now that's a really good, first line, because I know that Bill Gates became so rich because he didn't give IBM the rights to use it for, you had to license it. He didn't give it to them. He didn't sell it to them. He gave it to them as a license. And this is how Bill Gates made
billions. Something though?
Yes.
I'd like to say something though.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure someone related to Bill Gates was the owner of the IBM, like Bill Gates' mother or something.
Could be.
So it was pretty easy to just license the computers.
Yeah, he did not sell it. Interesting. And this is how he made the money. By licensing, you make much more money. But that's not the point of the writing, though, everybody. I want to take that out because it's not really necessary. I just like that statement is good enough, right? And I believe the year was 1979 or 1981. Again, you could check that with ChatGPT. What was the first year that IBM licensed the software operating system from Bill Gates? Which is crazy because IBM didn't have their own operating system. They relied on Bill Gates. And then they could actually make desktop computers for offices. Okay. So that is a really important point to make. Okay. So would you like to put some examples in chat, everybody? Somebody already put one in chat. Hi, Mr. McGowan. Curious, why is your chat GPT in Japanese? This is from Hui. Hui, it's a great question. I've been asking myself that question for 2 weeks. And the best answer I have for you, Hui, are you ready for this crazy answer? Is another boy in the summer school courses for NCSN, the debate courses, is this boy named Andrew Nyok. He is like a genius, a boy genius of about 12 years old. And he said, teacher, if you're tired of pop-up advertisements for YouTube, download this pop-up killer, advertisement killer from the internet. This works best. It's by a Vietnamese professor. And I used it. I was so happy for 6 months. But then I got a new desktop computer and I lost this advertisement killer. So I chose another one, everybody. And so now it's putting all of my prompts are in Japanese. I understand it, but it is, do you guys know this word tedious? It's tedious to use because I'll be in the middle of some heavy thinking, preparing a lesson, checking homework, and then up comes the Japanese. So beautiful question. I wish I could give you a prize like a chocolate bar or something for asking me that question. All right. So let's see, we have Anne is talking about military history. Yes, Mr. Anne, I would love to answer that one for you. But first, let's focus on our writing instead of the von Schlieffen plan, which was created well before 1914. We could discuss that for 2 hours, Anne, but I want to give a break to the other students because you love history as much as teacher Brendan, but we're going to keep that quiet for a while. Okay, so do you understand what we're doing is, can you choose one of these topics and just write a statement that you could define it if you want to, defining it would be something like, what do we mean when we refer to a nation as in a state of development? That's the, sort of debate style. It's okay. I like it for debate, and for a position paper, it's quite good. This would work pretty well here. I'll put this in that color. What do we mean when we refer to a nation as in a state of development, right? And then that can go in any number of directions. Now, remember, for these exercises, the idea is just to write maybe 5 sentences. It doesn't have to be a complete answer to these. These are just getting you started on how to use prompts, essay prompts, right? Just getting you used to all the different ways you can use prompts. Would you like to try some? Nice work. I see one come in already. And this is from Hui. Choose number 6. Hui, are you there? I didn't know if your microphone is working or not. And I hope I'm saying your name correctly.
My microphone is working, but my my webcam have some problems.
Okay. Hey, that's awesome.
McCogan, you seem to be a very nice guy. You remember every student name?
Yeah, I try to. It's important because I learned that in Japan. You have to know the students' names or they get upset. So Hui, hey Hui, you have a great voice, almost like a broadcaster's voice. Would you like to read what you wrote?
Thanks for the compliment, but I don't think I'm a broadcaster quality. Okay, so
Nice.
let's try with number 6 that I choose.
Okay.
So I think that the most popular reality show in Vietnam right now is Rap Viet, which is a talent TV show about hip hop, and but it does not relate the real cultures of Vietnam and young people. So I would like to argue against this.
Can you do that? I'll type what your I'll type your response here. I can type fast. So first of all, I have to be careful when I take stuff out of here and I copy it. Sometimes this is the weirdest thing. I have to stop the share on the writing because it disconnects my Zoom. It thinks that I'm violating the conditions of copyright, everybody. So wait, so I'm going to paste this in offline.
Okay, cool.
I've done this since summer. I mean, it was really embarrassing in the debate classes last summer. It knocked me out of Zoom 3 times in a row, and students were getting upset. So I'm going to paste this in here now. Beautiful. Now I can go confidently go back to you guys in your class. If I can get this here. Okay, and share in the, because I'm using, I use Apple Pages here. Okay, so can I start typing what you would like to say about this? And I'm gonna start here. And so this is what Hui wrote, and then I'm gonna put this in colors for you to see it more clearly. And then hopefully I can type in better colors. Okay, Hui, give me some information, 3 or 4 sentences, just by speaking, it's okay.
So like the question are just saying that the most popular show offer some insight, but that's why they are so popular. But I don't believe so. Popular show like reality show are just for the purpose of entertaining people
Okay.
and to see something new, something strange, weird that we could not experience in the real life. So that's why we watching TV, Superman, superheroes, and this so-called hip hop and rap show.
And
Does
so is it a general show or is it specific to hip hop and rap music?
This is a hip hop and rap music show when they are broadcasting for the underground rappers to the mainstream TV in Vietnam.
I'm going to use that hedging language. It's somewhat restricted to a musical genre. And it may not reflect the entirety of Vietnamese popular culture in the early 21st century. And then, Hui, you said other shows have other topics, right?
Yes.
Okay. Other television programs. What are they? What do they call them in English? You said variety programs?
So I call it reality show.
Yeah. Oh, I always spell labeled wrong.
Are you from French?
Yes, this is the problem. Studying French and Spanish and German. Tintin, you know that studying German can really mess up your spelling.
Yes, definitely.
Sorry, it's not variety, but reality.
What do you call them?
Reality show?
Oh, reality shows.
Reality
Okay.
show, yeah.
Okay.
Reality show.
Okay. Let's use that word seem. And can you use the word multi-generational from elderly, retired, to middle-aged, to teenagers, children?
I'm not sure about that, but I think it can be related.
Okay.
To the wider audience,
Yeah.
to a wider TV watcher generation.
This is interesting for me, Hui, because I wrote papers for my master's degree, which is a history degree, international relations on security and strategy studies. And my paper was on different generations within Islamic extremist groups or terrorism groups. Is there a generational difference? I think my professor
It's very interesting because I'm currently staying in Malaysia, and Malaysia is a Muslim country, as you might aware, and they have, the Ramadan is coming up next week.
Yeah.
If you know.
Yeah, I was teaching in Saudi Arabia, and I just missed Ramadan by 2 months. And my friend from the Philippines, Rodney, said, I hate Ramadan. He said, I like it. There's less teaching hours, but the students fall asleep in class because they don't eat. They only eat after the sun goes down. And he said, they fall asleep in my classes, and there are cameras in all the classrooms, and the managers come running in and shouting, why are your students sleeping? And he said, because it's Ramadan, they're not eating, and they stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning praying. They're going to fall asleep in class. Okay. All right, you guys, this is a paragraph. I worked on this together with Hui. Hui, would you like to read it? Because I think this is an excellent paragraph.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. McGowan.
Hmm.
Is it how should I pronounce your name?
Yeah, you could say
McGowan?
Makawan because that's the way the Japanese say Hui. So they've been calling me that for 35 years. So
So
it's
how do the English people
it's
pronounce your name?
McGowan. It's like McGowan. McGowan. It has a bit of a click, McGowan, right? But
McGowan. Okay.
Japanese say Makugowan. And so it's perfectly okay to say Makugowan. Is Hi An, you raised your hand. Would you like to add something to that, Hi An?
I have a question like my previous American teacher, his name is Mark Daniel.
Yeah,
And then
McDaniels.
Mark Daniel, and I have question like Mark Daniel and Mark Gowen. Like how can you use this name if from your father names, or how can you?
Mick it's the family name, the surname, Hayan. And so Mick means son of the tribal clan. And this is used in Ireland and Scotland, son of the tribal clan Gawan. Gawan means smith. It just means the people who work with metal. So my ancestors 1,000 years ago, they made horseshoes for the horses and tools. They were made of metal. They pounded iron. So they were called smiths. So Gawan in Irish and Scottish means smiths. And so if my name is McGowan, it means I'm a son of the Smith group. It's kind of interesting, right? So McDonald's, the restaurant, the powerful, huge clan of Donald was, I think, the strongest clan were the McDonald family. And so in Scotland, it's spelled McDonald's, but the McDonald brothers of California use the Irish style McDonald's. And it means they are sons of the Donald clan, but these go back hundreds of years. But Hayan, my family does come from a part of Ireland. I'll show you on a map sometime where that family has lived there for 700 years. So when I run into other McGowans, we know that our roots are in this particular part of Ireland called County Sligo. So it's kind of fun to meet other McGowans around the world, right? Okay,
Yes,
who are you? I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry, but the word MC is
Yeah.
pronounced as Mick, not Mac, right?
Yeah, it's Mick. Like
So
this.
I have been wrong for most of my life. So thank you for correcting that.
Yeah. Now be careful because in New York and Boston, when all of these Irish people came 150 years ago, they said, oh, he's a Mick because all the family names are Mick. And it's kind of a derogatory name, right? It's kind of like, oh, there goes a Mick. It means an Irish guy. So sometimes the Irish would get angry and sometimes they wouldn't. This is crazy. I live in Japan, so I was about to say this for angry. That means angry in Japanese, right? If you go like this, you say, I'm angry. And they say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. All right, so sorry about all that. Hui, would you like to read the brown part?
Yes, sir. So the most popular reality show in Vietnam right now is Graphic, which is a talent TV show about hip hop, but it does not reflect the real cultures of Vietnam. The hip hop rap music show is somewhat restricted to a musical genre, and it may not reflect the entirely of the Vietnamese popular cultures in the early 21st century. Other television shows that can be labeled as reality show seem to be offer more insights into the Vietnamese cultures with respect to a wider generation audience from childhood to the retirement years.
Nice, Hui. Really good paragraph. Let me ask a question. See if you can win the prize. Can you find teachers' use of hedging? There's a hedging phrase in there. Do you guys see it? I purposely put that in there while Hui was talking to see if you could catch it.
Seem to offer more insights, huh?
Beautiful. That's number one.
I'm
Can
not
you find
sure
the
about
second
that.
one? No, you're good. You're good. Don't question your answers, Mr. Ann. You're good. Seem to. Where did we get that seem to? I can't find it myself. I just wrote it. There it is. Nice, nice, nice. Very good. Now there's one more. Can you find one more?
Somewhat restricted.
Beautiful. You got it. Somewhat restricted. What's funny, Anne, is I didn't even notice that I did this seem to offer. I just did it naturally, right? So good work, Anne. You found something I wasn't even aware that I just did that, but I did intentionally use this somewhat restricted, right? So again, this is how we soften it. All right, let's see. We have another one. Beautiful. This is from Ellis. Ellis, you always work really hard and give these long answers. That's why I think for someone who's only 12 years old, Ellis, it reminds me of a young woman I knew who was 16 years old, and she was in our college in Chicago. And she was already started college in Chicago at age 16 because she was so advanced, Ellis. So I hope you're one of those students who can do that. Ellis, can you enter a Vietnamese university quite young? Do you know?
Maybe.
Maybe. Do any of the adults know the answer to that? Is it possible for really young prodigies, geniuses to enter Vietnamese colleges at such a young age?
I think it's
They
not
have the-
possible at the
Oh, not
moment.
possible.
It's not
Okay.
possible. We are forced to go through the graduation process.
See, my niece was in medical school at the University of Loyola Jesuit French College in Chicago. She was in the doctor's program, and there was a 12-year-old Korean boy who was in the medical program, and he was on national television. And I asked my niece, Jamie, what do you think of that boy? He's in some of your classes. And Jamie said, that boy asks like really difficult questions to the professors, and the professors don't really like it because he's so advanced. He's like a genius. He's too eccentric, and the professors don't understand his
The only
questions.
thing eccentric here is the fact that the teachers are letting the boy have their freedom of speech. All right.
Well, and you know what? Einstein did the same thing. He asked mathematics questions that his teachers in Germany couldn't answer when Einstein was only 10 years old.
1 + 1 = 2?
I know, you're kind of like a young prodigy yourself, so this is why you're getting emotional about it. That's fine, Mr. N. All right, Alice, can you read your response? Ms. Ellis, are
Okay.
you there? Okay,
Yeah, I'm here.
okay.
Working 5 days per week can be a tiring and tedious time to experience, but getting a money reward every day can get people work hard and forget everything but money. That
Yeah.
could cause overworking and bad health problems.
Yes.
In my opinion, companies and factories should allow workers to work 4 days per week so that the workers rest. Then they can get better performance in work and the facility of the product will be in a better condition.
Nice work. Really good, Ellis. It's a thoughtful response. Ellis, my only advice to you, I saw this in a couple of the papers. For academic writing, you have to use the University of Chicago manual. It's called the Chicago style, or the American Psychological Association is called APA. So if you guys see this, it says, please write your response in the APA style or Chicago style. They're almost the same style. And just a quick history of that, about, I don't know, it must be 100 years ago, since the 1920s. People around the world for academic conferences and publishing papers decided that the Chicago style from the University of Chicago was a pretty good international standard. Then in the 1950s, the American Psychological Association also became an accepted style, and is very close to the Chicago style. So if you say, well, what is that style? It's actually a thick book if you really want to study these styles. But one of the things is it's for the numbers 1 to 12. Try to write them 1 to 12. Go start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you might say, well, that's arbitrary. Why follow such a crazy example? And just this afternoon, I found an example in a student paper. He was writing about computer programming for game coding. And he wrote this, he wrote three people. And for a moment, I thought he was referring to a computer coding group of young people called the 3 People Group. And I said, oh, no, you mean a 3-person group, right? That he's in at school. So then I could give the students a really good answer as to why it's important for numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, write them out. And then when you get to the number 13, you can start writing them this way, all the way up to like 1 trillion if you want to, right? So for example, you can write 15 million people are at risk of what we call that food insecurity. in, what is it, Sudan. Something like this. So it's okay to write 15 million people. This style is okay. All right. But when you're writing the first numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, try to write them there. So that's why I corrected you here. But again, you were just putting this into chat, Ellis. So it's no problem. You're just, I understand you're just saving time in chat because you learned this in academic writing 3. So don't worry, Ellis. I won't mark it wrong in your answer. Okay, Ellis, let's see what we have here. Working 5 days a week can be tiring and tedious. So Ellis, I'm going to ask you the question in your response. Did you use the definition like in debate? Did you want to say, let me define what I mean by a 5-day week. Let me define what I mean by a 4-day week. Or Alice, did you use a position here? History, more of a history? Or did you use the position here? Now, I know the answer, but I want to see if you got this, Ellis, because you just wrote your response quite naturally. But what style did you use for what's called your prompt?
The upper here.
I think you gave your position pretty strongly, Ellis. So you did it has had a positive, it will have a positive influence or it will have a negative influence. Is this 5-day thing? I think, Ellis, in your style of writing, it's kind of easy to see that you took a position right away, right? So that's fine. It's an argumentative prompt. Now, that's a big style to say, Ellis, but it's just something to remember. Ellis used an argumentative prompt, right? Now, that doesn't mean you're fighting with strong words. It just means you took a strong position. And that's wonderful, Ellis. Thank you so much for that. For example, bad health problems, in my opinion, right? So it's clear to see this. All right, good, good, good. By the way, I got this, I changed this from the textbook because this is from Belgium. In the 1960s, Belgium was the first country to experiment with this, and they had mixed results. So other countries didn't follow the Belgian example of a 4-day work week. But then in the 1990s, I think it was Sweden and other Scandinavian countries began to study the idea of 4 days a week at 12 hours a day. Well, actually 10 hours. So you start at about 8 o'clock in the morning. Oh, sorry. So that's the 10 hours. Okay. Let's see, are there any more? So we have 2 really good examples and we only have about a minute left in class. I have to start the academic writing 3 with many of those students, Ellis and Tintin, you remember, those fun fellow students of yours. So again, the homework is going back to these. And of course, I'm going to put all of these notes in the Zalo group for you to access through. The homework is to pick a style, again, a definition style, an argumentation style, or sort of, to describe this one, it's kind of historical style is here, right? Answering a when, history style, is the best way to describe it. Choose one of these styles and then see if you can respond to one of these ideas. As often happens in the workshop style in the class, I focus on maybe 1 or 2 students. So Alice, if you think about it, your homework is already done, unless you want to do more homework. I leave it up to you. Yeah, so Min said, can you post these styles one more time so I can choose? Yeah, Min, what I'll do if you check Zalo, I'll put the 3 styles, I'll put them in the actual chat box on Zalo so they're easy to read. Because if I keep them here, it's a lot of information and they're maybe somewhat difficult to find, even though I did color code them for you to see. This is sort of a gold color, and then this one is a sky blue color, and the history style is a red blue color, okay? Okay, I think those will be pretty easy for you to figure out which one you want to use, okay? So choose 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but 6. But if you want to choose your own topic, that's fine too. You know, just at the beginning, you could write teacher, comma, I decided to use the history style. Teacher, I decided to use the argumentative style. Here's the definition in a debate style. And then you can write 5 sentences, if any topic you want. I just thought these were interesting topics because I changed them a little bit to make these Vietnam specific so they're more interesting for you. Okay, any questions? Can I say thank you so much? I really enjoyed teaching this class because several of you are deep in research, and this is excellent opportunity for you to learn how to approach the essays for your research with more confidence, so you feel really good about turning things in. To tell you the truth, when I did my master's thesis 5 years ago, I forgot some of these argumentative styles, and my professors would get a little bit angry, and they would say, they would say, "This is not an essay style, Brendan." And these were Irish professors. They know I'm from a pretty Irish family in America, so they would punish me. They were very strict. They'd say, "Go back and rewrite this," right? So I just had to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Finally, the genius professor from Cambridge University said, "I think you should focus and be a writing teacher." I don't know if that was a compliment or not. He means you shouldn't be a history teacher. You should be a writing teacher. I said, "Well, it's because you always gave back my papers, professor." All right. All right, everybody. So thank you so much. And of course, I'll put everything on the homework again for Lian Le. I will put that in the Zalo so you can clearly see what it is. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Tran. Antran. Hi, on.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for the class.
Thank you, Hui. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
Anne. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tintin. See you guys. Bye-bye, Hong.